Okay. Well, good evening, and want to welcome everybody to the Millwood Beautification and Tree Board meeting on September 26, 2022. So we'll start the call to order. That's 5:30. Take attendance. Vicky Nacarado.
Here.
Here. Charlie Peterson. Here. Daniel Hickox.
Here.
And myself, Paul Allen. And let's make a note that Debbie Langer was not able to make it tonight. We have the minutes from the previous meeting, which was June 27th. Hope you've all had a chance to read over those, and if there's any additions or corrections, you can let me know. Everything looks good? We have a motion to accept the minutes.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from the last meeting.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. Old business. DNR Urban Forestry Grant update. So it took us a while, and so our last meeting was in June. We were anticipating that we would receive the agreement from DNR in the first part of July, and it was towards the end of July before we got it, and we sent it to council, and then they reviewed it or back to DNR. They reviewed it and finally got approved in first part of August. So, and then we had contacted Jim Plott and awarded him the consultant agreement, and actually had the agreement, and then we sent it back to us, and everything's signed. So that's all taken care of. So anyway, it was almost September before we got everything all completely ready to go. And so here we are, ready to start the project. So, any questions about the update? No? Okay. So, any other old business? Nope. All right. So new business. So we want to discuss the tree inventory and the management plan schedule. So I want to reintroduce to you Jim Plott from Community Forestry Development. We're consultants. And he's going to give us a rundown on what the schedule is going to look like.
All right, thanks, Paul. Yeah, as Paul was saying, that we've just really finally got everything in place, and then I decided to go on vacation. So, but we're going to get started actually tomorrow with the tree inventory data collection, and I'll be working on that off and on over the next couple of weeks, 3 weeks probably, as my schedule dictates. We'll be doing up to 1,000 trees wherever that lands us. In the population of Millwood, street trees and park trees. I'll work with Daniel and Paul to prioritize the areas that we want to get first to make sure we get those finished, and then we'll move to the other areas of the city if we still have numbers left. So obviously the bigger, larger trees, the higher use areas, the park, places like that will be given priorities for data collection. So it's a very comprehensive inventory. We look at everything. It'd be very similar to you going to your doctor and getting an annual physical, head to toe. We look at the tree, where it's growing, anything wrong with it, risk associated with the tree, and maintenance needs. And then we can put all that information together. That really is what drives that, and the information from the tree inventory and the information that we build from industry standards along with feedback from the community. That's what really drives the management plan. So the first thing is to collect the inventory. Really, it's like managing a warehouse. If you don't know what's in the warehouse, it's kind of hard to make the management decisions. So we have to find out what's going on out in the streets and in the parks with the trees, collect that information, then from there we can build a database about the trees. We can use that to relay that information during the public meetings with the community, because most of the people that live in the city really don't. They see the trees and they see the green and they know there's trees there, but that's beyond that. It's not much more awareness of what's going on with the trees. So in the public meetings that we have planned for the development of the management plan, we have that information to share with them. The management plan will be over the course of winter, really, and throughout late winter. Hopefully we'll have it done easily by the time the grants due. There's no problem with that at all. But you want to take time to absorb what's going on from the community and give them plenty of opportunities to engage with this. So one of the ways we do that is through public meetings face-to-face, but we can also put together a survey, a public online survey that allows people that can't make the meetings access to a series of questions that kind of provide us with some background on what their opinions are, how they feel about the trees in the community, what would they support, what wouldn't they support. So there's a number of ways we attack public engagement in the process. And once we put all that together, we look at what the city has right now as far as capability to manage the trees. So where are you at right now? And then where do you want to be when this plan is done? So we're going to fill in the gaps to get you from where you're at now to where you would like to be. And that comes from staff input as well as public input. So that's what drives the plan. So it's a community plan that meets the needs of the community, but also helps manage the trees in a more efficient manner. So that's kind of the short of it as far as the process goes. I'm open for questions.
Any questions for Jim?
None.
Sure. Okay, so you think we'll have about 2 public meetings then?
Yeah.
3?
Probably
3?
we'll just see how
Okay.
it goes. It's kind of up in the air, really, see what the turnout is like, feedback, you know.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I forgot to turn my mic on. That'll be up to you guys to decide, because you're more familiar with your typical turnout for your meetings. So if we're basing it on tonight, hopefully it'll be better than tonight.
Yeah.
That's the other reason why we want to really wait on these public meetings, because people are still in this sort of like especially today, they want to be outside doing things. They don't want to come to meetings. So once the weather starts turning cold, our turnout. And so we can gauge the number of meetings we want to have or need to have. And in conjunction with the online survey, that really kind of exhausts the ability of us to really gather feedback from the public.
Okay. So we have a newsletter that's getting ready to go out, and so we'll include that in the newsletter, let them know that there will be some meetings coming up to discuss the management plan that we're developing. So we'll make sure that they get some more public notification out there, and so we can get a better representation of the city and input from our citizens.
Yeah, the earlier the better. I mean, like I said, we won't really be having those meetings till, late fall, like November, December, possibly even later. We'll collect that. The first thing we do is get the data collected, so we have that information to present to them as well. And the more we advertise, the better possibilities of more people engaging in the process. That's what we're really after.
Okay.
I do have a question. Do you have a crew that you work with? Is it just mostly you, or what should neighbors be expecting as you go around and do the inventory?
Good question. For this project, it's me. This is a small project. My company does inventories of 50 to 100,000 trees sometimes.
Right.
So 1,000 trees is fairly easy for one person to handle, and I'm local, so.
Okay. The reason I'm asking, it seems like people are very paranoid now about whoever's driving around in a neighborhood, walking around. Do you have, is your truck marked with anything, or, it just seems like everybody is nervous.
The truck is usually parked, it could be miles from where I'm walking, but I am wearing a high-vis vest that has a sign on the back that says Millwood Tree Inventory.
All right, that should cover it.
That should
No,
cover it.
but that is exactly what
Yeah.
I think is
And we also, and I'll talk to Paul and Daniel about this. I know the county sheriffs are your police force. We notify them too that we're doing a tree inventory, looking at trees in Millwood. So if they do get a call, they can say, oh yeah, we're aware of this. The city has hired someone to take a look at the street trees. So that also prepares the public that if there are concerns and they don't know or miss me walking or someone talking to Daniel or Paul, and they do end up calling the sheriff's department, they're alerted to the fact as well.
Usually it's probably going to be a call into, well, it depends.
It depends. They
be-
could call the city hall, so everybody here
Absolutely.
is aware of it, and also the county sheriff as well.
You've got it well covered and handled.
Yeah, this isn't our first rodeo.
Oh, I'm sure.
So,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Any other questions?
Well, I guess that's all we have for new business, number one. Number two, Paul was gonna talk about the sidewalk project on Dalton. We're doing a tree protection design, just different ideas for Dalton especially. Just cause that's a hard one to do. So, they kinda did an engineering, idea. So this is, downtown, they have like, can you see that? Okay. They have a drainage going underneath.
Hey, I got it.
Okay.
Sorry.
You're good, I can handle. Anything else, Richard? Okay. That's fine. You're good. They're doing a type of, downtown, they were doing a type of drain that, basically there's some silt and stuff underneath some metal reinforced concrete and some flashing underneath that. I have a picture after this one, but right underneath here, so that way the roots have somewhere to go instead of going out into the road and destroying the road more. Right here is kind of the way they have it. They have that silty stuff underneath. And this is kind of like a flashing for like a metal building, but it's also, this concrete is reinforced inside here. So it's completely stable, shouldn't have any breakage or anything. This is basically the best design we can come up with. The previous designs were to go further out into Dalton and do the kind of, kind of like metal structure going around the tree, but they're starting to see that that's a problem too. So this is what we've come up with. as the thing, and I'm not completely in the know of all this, but like, here's a drawing of it. So ours is gonna be a lot more, straight here, instead of having to hump up. But it's just, we're gonna be bridging a little further down, cause those trees are a lot bigger than the ones that they're dealing with downtown. So yeah, the tree's gonna be around here and then place for it to grow. And then, sorry, I wasn't expecting to do all this. This is kind of, so this is from Marguerite to, Argonne, doing the sort of raising the sidewalk, helping with those trees, and we're gonna be narrowing it, as I understand as of right now. Our city match right now is about 22,000. It's in the works right now. We won't know until, I think he said middle of December. I can zoom in too if you need it. Where is it? Is that better? Okay. So the total project, we're looking at about $440,000 to do just from Marguerite to Argonne. It's a very, very big project. I mean, all the engineering involved because of this new system. Price of concrete is crazy. But yeah, our match is only gonna be about $22,000, so that's gonna be huge if we can get this through TIB. But that's pretty much, we're at that point, we're just waiting to hear back from TIB if we got the grant or not. And then I think this is something they wanna start working on next year, if we get that grant, so. Any questions on that? I can try to answer.
Okay, I know how wide the sidewalks are there, so, how are you gonna do that? Put a growth area and then still let people walk?
So I don't really understand what all this, he was quickly trying to explain this all to me, before this meeting, cause I've been we just hired a new guy, so I'm trying to train him at the same time.
Of course.
But they're gonna widen the sidewalk. I don't know how they're planning on doing this.
Yeah.
Other than, I think our walking area is gonna be where that, flashing is gonna be. You know, that raised part, so it goes under the sidewalk instead of going out and breaking that sidewalk up and then going off into the road, kinda giving it a place to go. I think you've probably witnessed this stuff, right?
Yes, could you back up to
Yeah.
your first picture where you actually showed the trees and the finished?
This one?
Yes,
Yeah.
is that what they're gonna look like? Or is that just an example?
This is an example, so I think the way it's gonna be is that, like, this would be our trees that we have existing right now, and then this would be our sidewalk. So I think they're planning on pouring up to it, not up to it, but pretty close, and then widening out, cause from Marguerite to Argonne, that's very, very old. I think I looked at some of the stamps, it was 1930s.
Yeah,
So they're still
20s.
existing, 20s and 30s.
20s and 30s.
So, I mean, they're very old, and if you look, there's no lip of that sidewalk over there. So that's gonna get raised up, make it wide enough to be ADA compliant, and do new, ADA ramps on all four of those corners, cause those aren't up to code at all.
Is this gonna be into people's yards when you say widening it? I mean, it's hardly room on the street with the boulevard.
Yeah, that's another issue we're trying to figure out. Like I said, I'm trying to figure this out as much as I can with Paul.
Well, seriously, this is like twice
That's
as
twice
big
the size, yeah.
of what the sidewalks are actually just this side. So, I mean, it looks lovely, but
Yeah, and
what's the
that was one of my
feasibility?
questions for him was I had no clue how we were gonna do that, cause I mean, we even getting our dump trucks through and there's cars on the side. I think we're gonna make it no parking period on Dalton, and that will alleviate some of this taking away the road.
Oh, get ready for that one. We don't
we've
have
had,
parking now. People are not gonna like that one.
yeah.
Daniel, you said this isn't gonna take place till next year possibly, if it happens?
I think so.
Because part of the plan, we actually address tree sidewalk conflicts, and there's a lot of ways to tackle that.
Yeah, and that's one thing that me and Paul were gonna discuss with you when we're
Yeah.
out there, just kind of figure out what you think too. The only people we've had out is Welch Comer, looking at engineering designs, and then, we had a concrete company come out when we first were gonna do adjusting some of these sidewalks that had 2-inch lips on them and stuff. And they came up with a few ideas, so we have all these ideas thrown around. This is the best one we've come up with, engineering wise, with Welch Comer. But we also wanted to talk to you because you are the head of this management plan, so.
And that is very much characteristic of an engineered design system for trees.
Mhm.
It's not a biological system for trees, and that's the approach we would take. So there's a balance. But the general concept nowadays is engineers like to have a lot of straight lines in concrete. We look at it from the standpoint of trees is what's the minimum amount of concrete we can get away with and maximize the soil growing space for the trees. Otherwise, those lines of trees, typically their lifespan in an urban area like what we're picturing here and what we're talking about, doesn't even begin to approach their genetic potential. And they're usually stunted
Yeah.
and in poor shape. So there's probably better ways than that image to plant trees along streets and get them to thrive better than what they typically would. So, yeah, there's a lot of options that we
Yeah,
can
I
talk
don't know
about.
what the back and forth is with Welch Comer and Paul. I wasn't expecting to do any of this, so I'm trying to figure it out. But yeah, like I said, we definitely want to talk to you about it and figure it out, because we do want to keep those trees alive that are on Dalton, because they're the main staple of our city, is that strip right there. But they are very big and they're planted really close, so we're running out of options as we kind of look at them, so that's also why we're having him do this management plan. So.
You know, and then where you had done some grinding, or the city had, are you gonna do that? Because there's some side streets off of Dalton that there's some real lips. And also further down from Marguerite. So do you gonna continue that, you think, or?
Yeah, I think what we've kind of me and Paul have thrown around ideas over there. I did a full assessment last year on all the lips, what's high, what's low, what's priority. We can grind, but it takes forever, just even for 1 inch to grind down. Some of those are inch and a half, 2 inches. I think the biggest we found is 3 inch. But we have to do it in phases, because that's a huge road, and we know the north-south is gonna be a big thing too. Yeah, just trying to piece it out as we can.
Yeah.
But yeah, we talked about a company that we just recently found that they have a saw cutter that's kind of parallel to the ground, and they kind of cut a straight line, so we kind of been looking into that too. Paul got in contact with the company, so I think we're still gonna talk that through, and that might alleviate a lot of the lip problems out there.
No kidding, that'd be great.
And a lot cheaper option
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah. Thinks that, would really work. And that just seems to be such a huge problem, and a lot of people complain about it, especially, we have so many walkers and some of them elderly. And it's like, there's some horrific lifts, areas. They had, in the past, did you see where they've put asphalt down? It works, but the cutting, seems like it's the best direction to go.
I think it's a pretty new thing. I had never heard about it.
Yeah,
And
no
the guy
kidding.
we just hired as a concrete guy, and he had very little experience in knowing about it, so, and he's done it for the last 7 years. So, yeah, we're just gonna contact this company, see what they can do, and that's definitely something, we'll bring to the next meeting, in March.
Okay.
Kind of ideas on that, and alleviating some of those, sidewalks and everything too.
Great, thanks.
Any more questions? All right,
I'll be here 8-ish.
tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I get here at 7, so that'll be perfect.
Okay. Sounds good. We'll see you tomorrow then.
Any board member comments or anything? Okay. Thank you, Jim, for coming
You
in.
bet, no problem. Good to see
Thanks,
you guys
Jen.
again.
And Paul's not here, and I have no more comments. No problem. So our next meeting is going to be March 27th.
Okay,
That's our next regular meeting. If we have to go and do special meetings, you guys will be informed of everything. And yes, we can adjourn at, is that 5:55?
good job.